Well, welcome to the channel, viewers. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. We're going to continue our talks on covert emotional incest fundamentals. Let's get into it. I've got a picture of a mummy with a snake type thing around it because covert emotional incest's got a way of constricting everything it gets in touch with, also including the people that it affects. I've got the 10 plagues up of Egypt, which is significant relative to the subject because I don't want to give away the revelation yet, but it's got everything to do with children in the end and the stubbornness and way in which God, the Jewish God, chose to finally break Pharaoh and his way of trying to stop God's progress with his people. As you can see, I'm in the studio, which I don't normally come into, but I'm here today and I'll try and make a good video of this for you. I spoke earlier about the stubbornness in Fundamentals 1 and 2 of covert emotional incest and the way in which the covert emotional incest binds these people together. It's like one mummy in two, but the mummy can come alive and separate. The covert emotional incest can be made up of multiple DNA members within the family or tribe, but they're emotionally fused together in the intimate side of their emotions, in the security side of their emotions. And then they still have their own life. They still go out and lead their own life, but they're still bonded, wrongly bonded to the members of their DNA covert emotional incest connections. Now, what will happen is when you meet somebody like this, you are going to come into a standard, normal love bombing situation. Now, the first plague, I'm going to go with this now, starts off with the blood. The Lord turned the waterways into blood. It killed all the fish and everything else in the blood. And it got to the point where Pharaoh's gone, okay, I will let your people go. But it was blood representative of the blood of Christ, the sacrifice of blood, the way in which blood brings redemption and healing, the blood of Christ. And this is the funny part about it. To me, I don't know if you're going to get this or not, but to me it was to say, I've met you, I've come genuinely in the spirit and the love that I can give, but you are being met with somebody that's so badly damaged. Life's been so cruel and harmful and deconstructed for this person that they've wrapped themselves up so deeply in the covert emotional incest that it's a source of security for them. It's a source of identity for them. It's a source of I can't be harmed. It's a source of you will only get so close. It's a source of I belong here and you don't, but you can try and you won't get past the bandages. Okay, you won't get past where they've tried to heal and haven't been able to. And if you do, it won't be for very long. These people can be multi-personality. They can tell you that they've got different names and different personas, and they'll act out those personas intimately. I've had several of these. They like to be drug-induced. Their sexuality is usually connected with this. They have their covert emotional incest members or partakers as backup, but the problem with it is if and when the accusation stage comes, and it will, you'll be attacked by these people. And the mummy will go into a mummified state. The person that you're with will go into a mummified state. They will not intervene. They'll leave you at the mercy of either the parent-child or the mother who's attacking. They won't stand for you. They'll just go back into their mummified state. They won't say, I used to say to them, you're not saying anything and you're not doing anything. The reason being is the bond, the fusion, the emotional connection beyond the, it's extra maternal. It's extra maternal, like an extramarital affair. It's an extra maternal affair, molestation. They've allowed this covert emotional incest to molest them so deeply that they're paralyzed against coming up to confront an issue with a covert emotional incestual partner. The malignant covert emotional incestual partner will feign. There's not many malignant ones of these. They're not clever enough. But like a malignant narcissist goes the extra chameleon level. The malignant covert emotional incestual partner who is conscious of what's going on will feign a confrontation with a covert emotional incest family member. They'll feign it. And the spirit they project the confrontation in signals to the other partner in the family that this is being feigned. I am not being real. Go along with this so that the person that I have thinks we're in a confrontation, but we're not. It's feigned. That's how deep this can go. That's malignant covert emotional incest. That's when the person's absolutely conscious of the fact that they've got something going on with a family member that's extra maternal, and they're going to do it. They'll sit on the lounge together, they'll hug, they'll put their head in each other's laps as a suggestive oral approach, but it's not. A father will come behind his daughter and cup her around under the breast rather than grab on the breast. He'll come around, or an uncle or whatever, and get them under the breasts. And sometimes if it's in the wrong setting, because as I said to you before, covert emotional incest, when the spirit of it comes over these people and they're not used to having other people in the circle, in the house, it will come over them and they'll begin to play it out. They become unaware of it's a part of them, that other people, they don't think other people will notice what they're doing. And I've seen sons come behind their mothers and caress their neck and cup them under the breasts and rub them on the stomach and tell them how much they love them, but staying in that area too long. I love you, Mom. And I've seen several of these. Or they'll come in and they'll put their head in their breasts. And when you're present and this person's gone into the unawareness of what they're doing, and the person that you're with is aware that you're now seeing what they're doing in action, they become embarrassed and they try and push away. And the person that's acting it out, when they try and get them away, becomes offended. And I've seen this where a daughter's moved back with a mother. A friend of mine was involved with a woman with a father who had his daughter, and it was all too close. the daughter was approaching the father, and the father was trying to put a boundary there, and the daughter moved back into the mother and smear campaigned the father and the partner. I've seen the sons move back with their fathers, jealous of the attention that their mother was getting from the new boyfriend or old boyfriend. Or see, a lot of betrayal goes on within these families as well, where they feel like the parents now betraying the child, but the child should have never been in the parentified position. And so coming back, see, there's so much in this, viewers. There is so much damage going on out there. But it all starts off with the bloodline, right? The bloodline has bound these people up so badly, right, that they've got nothing to show for themselves characteristically. Oh yeah, they can go out into the community and put on the smile and be the functioning addict or functioning alcoholic or functioning medicated person or functioning emotional person. But underneath, viewers, they're completely bound. They're, as the Bible would say, dead. The narcissistic psychologists say that the narcissists are dead. They're not producing anything fruitful. I said it before, that people can be dead in their sins. They're not able to find a way in which they can function in a way in which builds their character, at least for very long. It slips through their fingers. It's like soap on the hands, and you can't. It's like slipping on a banana peel, and they wound themselves. They get a fright. They see themselves in the mirror and they get a fright of what condition they're really in. They try and find their way out and they can't. They slip back. They snap back to the covert emotional incest because that's where their security is. That's where their loyalty bind is. The disloyalty bind is with the partner. And it all evolves around the bloodline. The bloodline's got incest in it, where there's been attempted physical incest, maybe molestation, etc. Aunties fondling nephews and uncles molesting or trying to molest nieces, and all this family intrusion. And then you'll see the exploration of brothers with sisters and sisters with cousins, and this is why it's covert. But it happens in the infantile, in the younger years. But it lays latent in the sexual part of these people's lives. And then when they come out into the world and they're exploring strangers and things, anything's possible. Anything's possible, but they are still loyalty bound to the bloodline. They emotionally are not going to allow their loyalty and devotedness emotionally not leave the bloodline. It will not leave the bloodline. So they'll turn up physically and mentally for a sexual performance and company and intimacy, but emotionally, there's no one home. That emotional part of them that is supposed to be part of an intimate relationship remains in the bloodline. That's the loyalty bind. You will not break it, you will not beat it. You cannot and you will not. And that's why these people end up with no one, usually, once it's exposed. Because the emotional loyalty bind is with the DNA emotional incestual enmeshment. You can do whatever you want with these people sexually, but emotionally you get nothing. You'll get little snippets and just enough to keep you hopeful. Just enough to keep you hopeful. Just enough to make you think this is going to get better. It's never going to get better, viewers, because you're never going to get past the bloodline. That's the first thing that you need to understand about covert emotional incest. You'll get all of it, whatever you want, from that person. But you will never ever get the emotional attachment that you need, because the loyalty bind is with the bloodline, and it will not come past that. A lot of these people, when they get married, they won't change their name. And nobody can explain why. I can explain why. Because the loyalty bind is with the bloodline. They will not allow themselves to lose that part of their identity, because they've been infiltrated, they've been abused. They don't trust anyone outside the bloodline, even though it was in the bloodline that the intrusion took place. This doesn't happen to all, but it happens to, you'll see many, many women won't change their name. Possibly for all different reasons. They will not change their surname. But I can tell you one of the reasons. The loyalty bind. They've been bound by the seduction. The bloodline is the only place they feel safe, even though it was the bloodline that deceived them. That's why they will never be completely honest and transparent with you. Oh, they'll tell you things, bad things that have happened, to cause them to be bound up. When you first meet them, that's part of the seduction. This has happened to me. That's happened to me. This has happened to me, and I've had this happen to me, to test to see if you're going to cope with what they've been through, if you're going to put up with what's happened to them. This is them saying, I won't come away from my DNA. You're not my DNA. There's a part, all these things have happened to me within the DNA and probably outside the DNA. But it's the DNA that's caused the wrapping. They've wrapped themselves up. You can do whatever you want with that physical body. They'll even change personalities for you. I've had several of these. They'll change personalities, they'll have split personalities, and they'll let you do whatever you want, but you will not get the deepest, intimate part of their emotions, because it's just how it works. This part, even in narcissists, they'll emotionally starve you. And where's it all going? Where's all your... See, this is why they say, detach, 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 don't attach. Because your emotional part is going into a mummy. And a mummy can't give anything back. That's the root. That's the core of covert emotional incest. That's how it works. You'll not break the love and the commitment and the devotion of these mothers and their children. And nor should you want to. This isn't the point. The point is, how do you extract the emotional side of the relationship from one of these people? The truth is, you can't, because they've protected that part of themselves by the bloodline. And if you're not in that bloodline, you'll get just enough to... It's like being on a intravenous drip, but it's not giving you enough of the content. You've got the drip in your hand and you're squeezing it and you're trying to get the stuff out, but you can't get it out. It's all in there, but it is not coming out. It's not coming out. It's like speaking to a mummy, a mortified, bound mummy. It ain't coming out. Do whatever you want, else you want, but you are not going to get that devotion. It's not going to be there. And if you don't believe it, think back to when the rubber hit the fan rubber hit the road or the shit hit the fan and they realised you knew that they ain't going to give that out. What happened? You never heard from them again, did you? Because they've realised this person knows I'm only going to go so far. My devotion's in the bloodline. And that's it. This is talk number 3 on the fundamentals of covert emotional incest with Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Thank you for joining me. We'll go to session 4. We've got a few sessions in this. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.